alongside the Wednesday Wonderkind, Steven Simcox. I don't know how long I can call you a Wonderkind anymore.
Yeah, I'm coming up on 32 years old.
Yeah, I don't know. Did you watch Ted Lasso?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, it was kind of a death knell for Nate.
It was.
When he was called a Wonderkind.
Did you see they're making another season?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited because I love all those people together, but
right.
Again, they did wrap it up rather nicely. So
they did. It felt like a series finale.
Yeah. And I think that's what the plan was. And then Apple was like, hey,
here's some money.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you guys like money? And they're like, love money. Who doesn't?
Jason Sudeikis was like, I'm not really Ted Lasso. I can be bribed.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure they're pretty good writers, so they'll come up with a.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be bad. It's just will be different.
What do you have to do another 3-season arc? Because this was a whole arc of a story from him coming in to them getting there. Is this the arc of him coming in and help them get to actually win the thing? I don't know. And what does he do? Because I don't know. That's neither here nor there.
I feel like just now, before we started, it kind of felt like you were my dad and you were talking to me about Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm.
Because I asked you, Paul and myself are both big Cowboys fans.
Yes.
And I'm about, coming into Sunday, I was about as pessimistic as I've ever been about the Cowboys. I think they're going to be horrible. But then they beat the Browns, which Deshaun Watson is bad.
He's terrible.
But I was like, well, hey, maybe, Zeke looked better. And I asked you, I was like, were you impressed at all? And you immediately said no.
Not really. I like the defense. They're good. They're good on defense. I like Zim's defense. I think they've got Eric Kendricks was a really good signing, clearly. DeMarvion Overshown was fantastic. He had 13 tackles, including a couple that were huge, big play stoppers where he kind of came out of nowhere. When Deron Bland's back, that secondary is going to be better. Going to be really we haven't seen Deron Bland and Trayvon Diggs together.
I know the 2 interception kings. Yeah.
Yeah. These are the guys who are the pick 6 kings, and they're there. I really like Kalen. I like Kalen Carson last year at Wake Forest. So I like what they have going on defense. I think Cooper Beebe played really well. I think that Tyler Guyton availed himself very well against the best pass rusher in football in Myles Garrett, or at least the best pass rusher in the AFC. No offense, Micah. Maybe he's the best. I don't know. But one of the only other guys who's up there with Micah.
He's a game record.
Yeah, he's a total game record, Myles Garrett. And the Browns should be a good team, except for the fact the roster is really good, except for the fact that Deshaun Watson is not who he was.
Yeah,
that ended on a massage table years ago, and so their offense was as good as it needed to be, but I didn't come away going ooh,
right.
Brandon Aubrey's the best kicker in football right now, which is great. They have all these things going for him, but I've arrived at a place, Steven, where I could not give a crap less about the regular season. I'll enjoy the games on Sundays. It's a nice way to watch and relax, but none of it matters to me.
Well,
win something or stop.
That's the thing, is that they've set themselves up now. And this is always how the Cowboys have been to a certain extent, because it's about winning titles.
Yeah.
Even though they haven't done it in my lifetime, really. Well, I was alive, but you know what I mean.
Not much.
Not
very.
Much.
Not like you were.
I was a toddler. Yeah.
Yes. Had you were you using a bathroom at this point in 1996, or were you just?
I'd have to ask my parents.
Or the bathroom was where you were.
Yeah, I don't think I was fully. I don't think I was fully potty trained. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have to talk to my parents and my therapist about that. But anyway,
I cannot wait for the phone call. Hey,
in
let's say January 27th, 1996. Where was I pooping?
Yeah. You still wiping my butt then?
And they're going to be like, what? Just wondering.
This is important.
For context, historical context.
I just need to know.
Yeah.
But they've done everything you can do in the regular season the last 3 years. And, it's just all about the playoffs. It's all about if they can get there and how far can they go. So I was pleasantly surprised, but it's hard to be optimistic about or just even get excited about it when the challenge is still a long way away.
I mean, week one, I've been there. I've been there drinking the Kool-Aid and like, oh boy. I've been there in week 16 and week 18. First week of the playoffs. Like this team is legit. You know, they don't at all have a glaring weakness that most of the teams on their schedule weren't able to exploit. And this team that they're playing in the playoffs knows exactly what it is, and they're going to just call one play right at that all day long. So do I think they fixed their defensive glaring weakness for now, as long as they stay healthy? Yes, which was and this is what bothered me last. Like, they didn't go and sign a street free agent linebacker last year. And they just were like, Marquise Bell, you're a linebacker now. And he's like,
okay,
all right, cool. You know,
dope.
I'm down for it. You know, whatever gets me in the game. I'm great. I'm a team player. Let's go do this. And then the Packers were like, I mean, they've had a safety playing linebacker. And the only way they really beat people is they make them make mistakes early and they get out on them. And then, like, you know, nobody can run the ball. You can't run the ball for the rest of the game. So let's see what we can do here. And that's what they did, you know, or they play against the 49ers and they're not nearly as physical and tough as the 49ers are, but who is? And then, you know, one player gets hurt and then you find out like, oh, all this little like myth about the Cowboys and their weapons is they have a weapon and one guy who takes pressure off of that, but they're not really what everybody thinks they are. You know, when it comes down to it, when they don't have somebody who can pick up the slack, or they don't have a system that doesn't rely on somebody being just a superstar. But you know, they're not built like the Eagles and the 49ers. To me, the Chiefs are not built for this, but they've never had to experience it. I don't think. Like, if Patrick Mahomes is out for any kind of a stretch, everything's different.
Right.
You know, and defensively they're good, but like they're just, the Cowboys are not set up to where they can win unless everything's perfect. The Chiefs can do that. The Cowboys cannot. The 49ers can do that. The Cowboys can't. The Eagles, I think, can do that, although they did hit the wall at the end of last year, but they're adaptive enough, you know, and Kellen Moore's the offensive coordinator there. So I think it'll be different, but yeah. So no, I like, my level of excitement only goes up when there's like, I only get excited now if there's one playoff win. And then I only get excited to like 2/3 of the cup. I go from a half empty guy to it's a third empty. And then I'll never be full cup until I see, you know, Jerry and Steven and whoever the coach is and whoever it is, like, I knew we could. I made this point yesterday about Deion Sanders, and it's very much the same for Jerry Jones. I think Deion needs to learn this, is you can either win in the way that it takes to win and adapt to that and let go of some of the preconceived notions that you have about how we're going to do this, or you can try and win your way and hope that, you know, you like keep winning that little game of whack-a-mole of what issues pop up along the way. And it's been 30 plus years now, this will be 30 years or almost 30 years. It's been almost 30 years and the Cowboys haven't they've always get to the, you know, they get to the point where it's like, oh, just these last couple of things. And it's like, oh, you've been avoiding these all season long, but they're better at this than you. And I think that's the other thing that Jerry has not acknowledged, is I think that he believes that they're still the best at it, but unlucky. As where these other teams that keep doing it, they're better at it than you. And if you can admit that they're better at it than you and come up with a cohesive strategy, then you'll be as good at that as them. But the first step in admitting that you're not as good as you think you are is admitting that you're not, you know, or knowing that you're not as good as you think you are is admitting that you're not as good as you think you are.
Were you surprised by, I mean, not like the 11th hour and that there was a deadline, but just getting the Dak deal done as the season started?
No, I think that's what Jerry likes. I think he's the kind of guy you take him to Disney World and he's like, listen, this Dumbo ride is for pussies. I don't want to be on this thing. Like, this is dumb. Like, we waited in line for this. Like, let's go. I want something with real risk. Like, take me on something that's fast.
He's going straight to Space Mountain.
Yeah, he's just like, let's go. And then, like, as soon as it's over, he's like, Mom, can we do it again? Like, Tower of Terror. That's what he wants.
Right.
He wants the drop and the pull back up and the drop again because that exhilarates him. But at the, you take him to the log ride, he's like, so what? This is for idiots.
Yeah.
That's where everybody else is like using the whole park.
Yeah. You just like, give me the Animal Kingdom. I want to ride Everest.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go up and down, up and down. That's what he wants to do. And his parents are just there like, all right. All right. Back in the line, and he just gets to it. He has his little drop. All right. We're going to do it again with Micah. So he's back in line, waiting for his thrill ride. And they don't have to do Micah this year, but they also don't have to draw Micah out. Also, Micah has the kind of personality where, like, I do think this will be a bigger deal than Dak or even CD. Like, Dak and CD didn't say much. Like, CD put in a couple of, like, Spider-Man pictures and, like, Instagram a laughing emoji, and that was it. And then Dak didn't really say anything until the end where he's like, but at that point, I think he knew that they were down to the minutia of it, like where he knew the structure was in place. It was just going to be, all right, well,
let's get these details hammered out.
These little details, like you can bring 4 people a week to the cafeteria,
Right.
Sure. We'll make take-home meals for you. And yes, you can use the helicopter on, Tuesdays and Sundays in the month of March, whatever, but, those kind of things. But yeah, I've stopped being excited about them because I just know where this ends. So I've been like, look, in my single days, I had to learn the hard way. And I think everybody has to learn the hard way of, like, when you think someone likes you and you kind of pursue them, and then, like, you were like, oh man, that was a really great, we had a really good time tonight, I can't wait. And you call them or text them or you do whatever, and you just kind of wait, and you're like, oh, I'm sure they're busy. And then it happens like 3 or 4 more times. You're like, nah, they're not that busy. Like, I'm not.
Yeah, they're just not feeling it.
They're not feeling it. Like, that's where I am. Like, I'll get excited. Like, the Cowboys been stringing, like, they've been stringing me along we've been dating for a long time now. They've been stringing me along. I need a ring.
That's right.
I need a ring,
You need to see that commitment.
Oh yeah, I need to see the commitment.
You know what else I've learned this week, Paul?
What's that?
So something that happens here for the show, you're thinking about titles.
Yeah.
And our friend Jack's always like, got to think about the key words.
Yeah.
And so I've learned this week that UCF, we've got a pretty rowdy and large fan base.
You have learned that.
Yes.
Yes. Hold on. Let me see who's in the chat right now.
Which makes sense because I know it's a huge school. And Paul, you went to Orlando last year. I didn't get to experience this game last year because TCU didn't play them because of schedule. But now they're coming to Fort Worth early in the season. And yeah, there's a lot of UCF fans.
Are you going to go?
I'll be there Saturday night.
Yeah. Look, I think that's going to be a really fun game, but they've discovered things. We had to teach you some UCF etiquette.
You did. You were telling me don't call them Central Florida.
Yeah.
Or the Golden Knights.
No, they're not that anymore.
Okay.
They're not that anymore. They have changed their company name. So
yeah, I discovered that yesterday because in his press conference, Sonny Dykes said UCF, and a lot of there were UCF fans in the comments that were like, I'm so glad he called us UCF. And I was like, okay, I guess that's a sensitive thing, but good to know. If I don't want to step on toes, or if I do, I know the things to needle there. Yeah, no, those are 2 big things. They're no, like, here's the thing. I knew them as the Central Florida Golden Knights, a commuter school in Orlando. And I never really gave them, even like covering them when they beat Baylor in the Fiesta Bowl and all these things. I paid, and it was probably rude of me to do this as a unprofessional, but I paid no attention to those little details because in my mind, they were what they always were when I was growing up. Yes. A safety school.
That is no longer the case and hasn't been the case for actually quite some time. But since I never paid attention,
Yeah, old habits die hard.
old habits that hard.
Narratives form in your mind, and then you just kind of keep them there.
Yeah, exactly. Richard Gere and his gerbil, like those kind of things. He'll never defeat it, even though in no way is it true.
Right.
But, or maybe it was at one point now.
Now it's not.
No, it's not. But so that was how I always perceived it. And, when you're in college and that, like, it had actually started like right after I got out of college, they had started to like, hey, we need to really make this place, there's a lot of, this is a big school. There's a lot of alumni. We can, let's make it one of the bigger schools. Let's make it one of the better schools for a great many things. Let's really, take advantage of where we are and who we are and what we can do. And they did that. And, because I'm a Tallahassee snob, I'm like, okay.
Good luck, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Little Disney World University. All right. Have fun down there in Orlando, and I have friends like FSU grads in Orlando. Also, this is going on right under their noses. And like, all it took was reading the paper one day and they'd be like, you don't care, like, so it was very snobby behavior. And then they've turned around and turned into this like really good, viable athletic department unit, like a huge university with like tons of awesome stuff going on. It's an absolutely beautiful campus. It's an awesome campus. It's a great game day atmosphere. I can say no bad things about UCF. Like, I maybe like the parking sucks, but I don't know because both days I went there, they gave me a parking pass to park close to where we were going to be. So, I mean, I had like Jack went with me. Like we had no complaints. Like it was pretty easy. Like we parked game day. We parked like right by the stadium. It was pretty badass. I mean, again, no complaints. So yeah, I apologize to UCF fans for ignoring
their progress
for so long. Even in the wake of watching them absolutely house Baylor in Phoenix, Arizona in 2014. Yeah.
No, it should be a fun game this weekend. I think both teams are just looking to prove themselves. Like they've played pretty light schedules so far. And UCF has been really good with RJ Harvey and KJ Jefferson and their other running backs that have been effective. And so TCU with their new defense is going to get a chance to stop that. UCF will to see if they can slow down Josh Hoover in this passing attack. But a lot of athletes all over the field, Paul. And I think whoever wins this game can take a step forward in that discussion of kind of the tier right below the contenders in this league of like, okay, here's a team that can make some noise if they can go on a run here and stay healthy. And then the loser has some ground to make up. But yeah, I mean, Gus Malzahn, Sonny Dex, it'll be fun to see them match up.
Yeah. Look, Josh Hoover is pretty good. Like I think we've seen that for the first couple weeks, although that Stanford game was, I know,
it was closer than expected.
Yeah.
But they made the plays when they had to.
Yeah. But like, I know that was kind of like, the first part of that game was like, what is happening? Although, Stanford, to their credit, does have one of the best, like Eric Ayamanior is fantastic. They still got some good players. They're just not the new world of college athletics has affected Stanford in ways that I bet you they probably didn't ever
think about.
I mean, like Stanford itself is a huge reason that the Pac-12 doesn't exist anymore because they were just like, no. This is not how things work.
This industry's not going to collapse.
And then somebody said like, yeah, but you guys, like, don't you want to be, we're Stanford. We'll be competitive and everything all the time. You see this endowment? Do you see how much we're endowed? Yeah. How many people go to your football games? We'll buy them. Doesn't matter. We're Stanford, Silicon Valley.
We'll invent robots to put in the stands.
Silicon Valley. You heard of it? Silicon Valley. You been there? It's right near our campus. We're pretty much the garden of Silicon Valley. We're Stanford. Okay. We don't need your little things. And then like all of a sudden the Pac-12's over and Stanford's like, we need a thing.
We would like to join the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Yeah. And then they're like, Cal, what do you think? And they're like, look, man, peace and love. I'll go whatever coast you want me to go to, man. I'm cool just as long as we all, hold hands and sing Kumbaya in the share circle at the end of the meetings.
That's right.
I'm good. I'm Cal, and I'm feeling a little persecuted by Florida State and Clemson right now. Just a little bit attacked, like I'm not worth much to them. And Florida State and Clemson are like, yeah, you're really not.
That's who Hugh Freeze lost to this week.
Yeah.
Who's that guy?
Yeah. And Stanford just sitting there like, hello, Duke. Who are these other people here? Should we talk to them? Do you talk to them?
Can we compare research notes?
Georgia Tech, come over here, Georgia Tech. What do you guys think of these state schools? Are they as dumb as the ones in California? I'm sure they are. These southern bumpkins with their silly tomahawk chops and rocks that they touch. What is a Tar Heel anyway?
We need Dabo to talk to these people.
Yeah. The name, image, and likeness of the god. Oh, pish posh. But please help us. We're desperate. No, for UCF and TCU, one of my favorite games of the week, just because it is such a proving ground game for both of them. Like, who are you going to be in the Big 12? And I don't think it's going to be a blowout either way that happens. I think it's going to be a really good game. I think that if they can keep KJ Jefferson efficient and kind of building in that offense and comfortable and just making plays when he has to, and get some guys loose. Again, TCU has a new defense. We'll see how good it really is. Like, obviously, they played better against Long Island than Baylor did a year ago, but still it was Long Island.
Yeah, it's Long Island.
Yeah. If you would like to see Steven's interview with the Long Island coach, it's up
on
for
my
giggles,
page.
It's up on his YouTube page.
That's right. Yeah.
Locked on Horn
Ron
Frogs.
Cooper, nice guy.
Yeah. So if you want to see that, it's there for last week. I wish you could have recorded like all of the conversation you had with him.
Very honest guy.
What you told me, he seems like he's kind of a funny dude.
He's a funny guy.
Yeah. So we haven't really seen TCU's had to prove it. UCF has played Sam Houston State and New Hampshire. So this is their first test of the season. Can they do it? Like, when you make mistakes in this game, they're going to actually hurt you, as opposed to Sam Houston State and New Hampshire. It's just like, oh, well, we'll have the ball back in a couple minutes. Don't worry about it. It's just one of those things. But this is a game where it's going to be tough. I remember I was on a UCF podcast a couple weeks ago, and the host was like, oh, I'm a huge Cowboys fan. We're going to go to the Cowboys game, and, we're going to take in my son, and we're doing all this stuff. Like, please give me places to go. So I sent him the list. Like, I kind of gave him the what Amanda really loves Fort Worth. She loves it. And what you need to do when you're there, so you can say, I've done Fort Worth. Like, you got to go down to the stockyards.
Yes.
I suppose you can go to Joe T's, although I feel like the quality of Joe T's has gone down as the outside world has found out about it. I gave him some other good places to go. You've always, had a couple good places in mind, because I've texted you before when I'm going up there, like, hey, give me a cool spot in Fort Worth, and
yeah, it's an awesome place, and it's like everywhere else in the Metroplex is just growing all the time. Yeah, so there's just more and more stuff, but it's gonna be fun, and I'm excited to see both teams just get a chance to kind of show off their talent, because I think there's a lot of talent there. It's just about who's gonna organize it better and have a better game plan. So. And it was a weird, and we'll get into this later, but it was a super weird week for the Big 12 last weekend. So it does feel like the league is pretty wide open right now, maybe aside from Utah, but a lot of that depends on Cam Rising and what his health is going to look like moving forward.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. You mentioned Utah and Cam Rising. Like, how bad is his finger? Like how long does this kind of hang around? I wonder about that a lot.
Yeah, I do too. I guess if it's a nagging thing, then that really affects and limits what you can do, but they're so good defensively. But you can tell, like, with him out of the game, that offense just looked pretty hapless. And so it's a completely different Utah team. So they need him on the field to really do what they want to do this year.
How much of a, for TCU in particular, this UCF game, how much do you feel it's like a fulcrum game for them? Like, where this could shift, like, where they're going to be or expose some things.
Yeah, I think the next 2 weeks are pretty critical. I mean, you get this, and then you play SMU on the road. SMU will have a bye week. It looks like they've decided where they're going to go at quarterback now. Preston Stone is getting benched essentially for Jennings, who's going to take over. But if you can start the season 4-0 going into that Kansas game on the road, then I really like their chances of maybe being a contender, because we'll see what Kansas looks like bouncing back from that Illinois loss, but they're still getting accustomed to a new offense. They really struggled against the Illini. So suddenly it feels like there's some more manageable games on the schedule, but you have to win. You have to win these key swing games right now. And if you end up 2-1, I mean, you can bounce back next week, but 0-1 in conference play, like, not that it's insurmountable, but it's just I think it would be a big, disappointment for them. And then how do you sort of get that mentality back throughout the rest of the season? Because we've seen in the past, like, when TCU's had an early loss, and I think UCF's a good team. I wouldn't put this in that category, but like Colorado last year, like, it really seemed like it just almost tanked the year. Like, once they lost that ball game, in the end of the Gary Patterson era, they lost a couple times to SMU, and it was like, that was okay. Maybe we're not that good. And then all of a sudden people start fighting, and there's, some things going on. But if you can start 4-0, then I think that's a big springboard to what you could end up doing throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah. And look, it's because after that, they, at Kansas, gonna be tough. I think Kansas will probably bounce back. They were that was very disappointing last week. What happened? I don't really know who Houston is.
They hung with Oklahoma Saturday.
They hung with Oklahoma. I think that probably says more about Oklahoma. Garrett, are you on that where that says more about Oklahoma than it does about Houston?
Probably so. I think Oklahoma's got more concerns and bigger issues as they head into the SEC. So I think that's more on more on Oklahoma and who they really are.
Yeah. They do, like, TCU has a nice balance of, like, tough games. Like, SMU is going to be tough, even though, like, they don't really look all that great right now, because this is the last time they're going to play for a little bit, right? And then
2 more years.
Okay.
But I think going with a QB, like, just having a clear direction, is going to help them a lot on offense. Like, just stopping that musical chairs will at least give them an identity on offense.
Yeah. I'm still shocked that Preston Stone's that bad.
Yeah, me too.
Like, he didn't look that bad when he played before. He just, right now, it's looking like he's lost out there. But, at Utah, it's going to be very, very tough.
Yeah.
Texas Tech, it comes home and back.
Who knows?
I mean, like, Texas Tech, that's at home. That's the homecoming game. And
right.
Nice pick. I'll tell you right now, it looked like a nice pick, given what's going on at Tech.
Yeah, Tech looks lost right now, man.
Yeah, they look lost. All right, let's dive into the rest of week 3 in the Big 12. When we come back,